How are we doing? It is Andy coming to you on a Saturday because we got some Saturday and Sunday games to talk about. This is that part of the year where you can go out on a Saturday night and watch NFL football. There's a limited amount of Saturdays you can do that. It starts this week and goes through like the second round of the playoffs. And I always loved going out on Saturday nights where there was NFL football on because you'd go to a spot. You know, you go normally before you would go out on a Saturday night. Now it gives you reason to get out there early. You're getting a little buzz during the game. Then by the time the game's over, you got a nice fat buzz on, and you're already looking at who you want to talk to, and you got that liquid courage in you already. Great week for many reasons. With the fantasy football playoffs starting, it's an exciting NFL week. If you just discount the fact that the weather is miserable in the overwhelming majority of the country, other than that, it's a great weekend. So Saturday, we got 3 games to look at. I'll give you a couple tree things in these couple tree games. I hope you guys know what that's from. That's from The Sopranos, Phil Leotardo. Let me tell you a couple tree things. So we have 3 games, the first being a couple backup quarterbacks. We got Browning and the Bengals hosting Nicky Mullins and the Minnesota Vikings. This is going to be his first start of the year. A couple things I like in this game. Justin Jefferson is going to be playing. He's coming back after departing the game last week. I don't know, but they have a really high number on him in the 80s. I understand how good Justin Jefferson is. Absolutely. But there's a couple things working towards this under for me. Number one, this is Nick Mullins. Okay, Kyle Shanahan can make almost anybody work. Nick Mullins, not so much, wasn't able to rake up wins. I know Kittle had a couple big games, and they have Hawkinson, who's a great tight end. So, you know, the fact that he likes going over the middle, or at least did in the past, and then you have Jefferson, who came back from a multi-week layoff, only to get re-injured. So now he's got 2 potential injuries he's dealing with and a third-string quarterback. This, to me, I got to go with the under on this one. He's a mega-talented guy, and he could end up screwing me, but from what I saw from him last week, and also just they have weapons there. You got Addison, you got Hawkinson, and a third-string quarterback. I don't know. I like taking the under on this one. On the other side of the ball, I kind of like these running backs to go over on their receiving yards, but more specifically, the over 1.5 on the Chase Brown receptions. You saw how many times Browning checked it down, and all these design screens. Many of the passing yards last week that Browning accumulated were off of either checkdowns or design screens, and I see that coming once again in this game. So give me the over 1.5 receptions for Chase Brown. Next up, we got the Colts and the Steelers, and I'm seeing way too high of a total for Zach Moss. I know he's going to have a workhorse role, absolutely. But ever since Taylor got re-injured, he's got the workload, he's getting the touches, he's got the snap share, but he doesn't have the production. And when you think about how Moss has performed in the majority of his career, he had that great stretch early in the season, but he hasn't been able to replicate that the later we've gotten into the season. Is he maybe breaking down? Is the line not as good? Whatever the reason is, he's going up against the Steelers defense, and they have a total in the 70s. I'm going to bet that he's going to struggle for a 3rd straight game, so give me the under on Zach Moss rushing. But hey, I know it's a big topic in fantasy. You got the huge workload, you got to play him. Good news for you, we're all cool with the over on his receiving yards. So I will go under on Zach Moss rushing, but I will take the over on his receiving because of that aforementioned snap share percentage and how often he's on the field and how often he's running routes. He had a couple checkdowns last week. I mean, this is an all-purpose role for Zach Moss unless they kind of want to introduce a new running back into the plan that none of us can kind of predict. But he's going to be out there a ton, and I think he'll get a couple of those checkdowns along the way. So under on rushing, over on receiving for Zach Moss. Then in the late game, we got the Denver Broncos going over to Detroit. Detroit is struggling week after week after week. The thing is, the Denver Broncos defense, you take out that early stretch of the year, they've actually been playing very well, especially their pass defense. But they still are very vulnerable on the ground. And we know that offensive line of the Lions, when they've had success this year, it's been very good. We also know Jared Goff is way better in these home games. I'm liking David Montgomery in this game. Last week was a Gibbs week. When they fall behind and they're trailing, you see more Gibbs. When you look at them being favored in this game, if they get a lead and you know Goff plays pretty well at home, I think they'll keep feeding Montgomery. Also, they don't want Goff making mistakes. They want to get him back on the right path. They trust Montgomery. Montgomery's done very well, and he has a total that is absolutely doable against this run defense in Denver, they've cashed for us many times. I remember we took Ford against them. We've taken many running backs against them, and they're very generous to these running backs. We'll see if they got it tightened up, but I will go with the over on David Montgomery rushing yards. Now on to Sunday. We have Tennessee on a short week, coming off of an unbelievable come-from-behind victory against the Miami Dolphins, and they're going up against a ravaged Houston team. There's going to be no C.J. Stroud. There's going to be no Nico Collins. There's obviously no Tank Dell. And we remember what that version of the Houston Texans were, right? That was the one that had to draft number 2 overall in the draft. And they're going up against Vrabel and these Titans. You got to think the Titans are going to win this game unless, the coaching staff of Houston has done a great job. Maybe they can cook something up. What they do have going for them is that it is a short week for Tennessee. But for Tennessee, if you watch that game, Tajay Spears looked pretty dynamic out of the backfield. In a game that I foresee that they'll be playing within a score, I don't see them going down multiple scores, especially riding out the momentum of that last win. I'm going over on rushing for both of the running backs, Henry and Tajay Spears, because I'm expecting them to play with a lead. And Spears definitely earned more touches with that performance that he put forth against the Miami Dolphins. I mean, he's great, and I know it's in the passing game, but he has a low rushing total. I really think they're going to give him work, whether they're behind or ahead. I like the over on rushing for Henry and Tajay Spears, and when you're talking about Henry, you can start messing with those alts, because when he goes, it's rarely that Henry's going, oh yeah, Henry ended up with 68 yards. No, usually it's, yeah, they really bottled him up. He had 34 or he had 158. So if you want to go all the way upward to like 90 or something like that, I do not mind at all. So the over on both of those running backs rushing totals. And let's go to New England, where we got a few games left of Belichick supposedly. They're coming home after an extended layoff, so they have extra time to prepare, which old school Belichick that would mean a lot for. But you're talking about Kansas City, who honestly, he's done well against Belichick this whole time regardless, and a pretty pissed off Kansas City about that offsides thing. So what I like in this game, there's going to be no Isaiah Pacheco once again. Clyde Edwards-Helaire took that Pacheco role. We all know McKinnon is great in the receiving game and whatnot, but Hilaire's good at catching the ball too, and he's just going to get those little dinks and dunks that Pacheco got. We used to cash last season, early season, on those Pacheco receiving yards all the time. We were ahead of the whole game. Everybody now knew, and then they adjusted the lines. We were ahead of that, and I'm just applying the same thing with Helaire. If he's getting Pacheco's work, then he's getting Pacheco's dinks, and he's known as more of a receiver as Pacheco, so I can see some design screens coming to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, so give me his over on receiving. Obviously, I'll take Kansas City to win the game if you ever want to put some of these together. If you watch that game against Pittsburgh that New England played last Thursday night, I know it was tough to watch, but Zeke he's up there with Zach Moss and the Chalk Roach. He's out there every single snap, has a great role, and they were willing to check it down to him all the time. My Zeke likes to check down all the time, check down all the time, check down all the time. He's going to get some more checkdowns. They have his receiving total at like 19. I mean, he cleared that by a mile. I'm cool taking the over on over 19.5 for Ezekiel Elliott, or even the 25 plus if you want to get a little better price on that. And then also in that game, if there is no Pacheco, it's not like they're committing to 100 runs. So if Mahomes is going to be dropping back, then Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce, I think, are both primed to hit their overs as well. But as far as the Kansas City side of the ball, I do like that Helaire one the most. If you want to dial up a little same game parlay, how about 25 plus receiving for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 25 plus receiving for Ezekiel Elliott, the over for Travis Kelce, and the Kansas City Chiefs to win. Ding! Parlay. Another game that we would like to look at here is the Buffalo Bills. They're hosting the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills to win this game. I am one of those believers who thinks that if they get into the playoffs, it's going to be all-out ruckus. And in Buffalo, where they can use that environment to their advantage. I haven't checked the weather yet, but Dak and that offense, they're mostly an indoor passing offense. I think that defense will be able to help out. I mean, they played pretty well against Mahomes in the first half and then to close out the game. I just trust Josh Allen in this spot at home. And then the two key cogs, we're back down to absurdly low Gabe Davis numbers. This is a home game that they need. I'm taking the over, and I'm willing to go with the 50+ in this game. I choose my Gabe Davis spots wisely. I think this could be a good one. They've returned to these 2 tight end sets now that Dawson Knox is back, so I'm not messing with any Kincaid, Knox, or Shakir. If anything, I would go under on some of those guys. But Gabe Davis and, yes, Stephon Diggs. I understand he's had a couple of poor weeks in a row, but the benefit of that, as I've always mentioned all year, is you get a lowered line. So we're seeing Stephon Diggs in the upper 60s. Yeah, I'll take that. Thank you very much. And I'm willing to go up to 80+. So you want another same game parlay? We can do 50+ for Gabe Davis. We can do 80+ for Stephon Diggs and the Buffalo Bills to win that game. Another same game parlay for you this Sunday. And then for a little Sunday night football, how about this? Just your classic spread bet. Give me the home team who's getting plus 3.5 points. I love the fact that they've lost 2 games in a row, some against inferior opponents. You know, they lost to Cincinnati's back up on the road. This is a great spot. This is the classic. Everyone takes Lamar in prime time. And if he wins, I think it will be by 3. Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I would put a little side on them to win outright. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to win this game because they're set up for a signature victory. Classic back-to-back losses. People are off you. You get a primetime game, and you show them what you can do against a team who is currently the 1 seed, which the Ravens are. I'm taking Jacksonville plus 3.5, and I will take them to win this game. That's what I got for you here this weekend. You know who I'm going to tell you to subscribe to? Me. Subscribe to my YouTube page. Click the notification so you know when the new videos are coming out. And if you want to support me in any way, shape, or form, you can do that by subscribing to my Patreon. You can access my Patreon by clicking the link down below. I included it right in the description of the video. And if you don't know what Patreon is, it's just, imagine just like a social, imagine Facebook Messenger where I can share betting tickets and the other sniffers are in there and we're talking about what we're doing and all different combinations. I'm answering questions. It's good. And it's very clean if you have iOS or if you Android, if you have a phone. Very easy to use. It's not tricky or anything like that. It's patreon.com/Andy Francess if you're still a computer guy. And that's how you can help me out. Very much appreciated. Good luck to you. Better luck to me. I will see you for Monday's NHL bets. If you want the Monday Night Football bets, you know what you got to do. You got to come to the Patreon because it's one of the added benefits. Thank you guys so much. I'll talk to you later.